Evening and welcome to the May 20th, 2026 meeting of the Lower Merion Board of Commissioners. We have 3 meetings this evening. We have a Governance and Administration Committee meeting, a Finance Committee meeting, and a Board of Commissioners meeting. Before we start, please silence your cell phones. There's amplifying equipment available for those who are having difficulty hearing. This room is also equipped with telecoil technology. And later, when the floor is open for public comment, we ask that you introduce yourself before beginning your comments. If you're in the room, we ask that you use this podium to your left here. With that, we're going to start our committee meetings for the evening. The first one's the Governance and Administration Committee. I recognize its chair, Commissioner Epstein.
This evening we have 2 items, similar items. The first is an approval of 2026 salary increase for the Township Secretary. So I would like to make a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of a 3.5% salary increase plus a $3,000 performance incentive payment for 2025 for the Township Secretary effective January 1st, 2026. Do I have a second? Thank you, Commissioner Whalen. The explanation is that we do this as a matter of practice. Every year we evaluate the salaries and go through a public process to adjust. That's as much explanation as I really have. Anyone here would like to comment on this item? I think so. Do we have anybody on?
No, actually, no one signed up this evening for Zoom.
Good to know. Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, I'm going to go then. All right. So I could talk for a really long time about why we are giving our Township Secretary, Jody, this raise, but I'm going to keep it to under 3 minutes in respect to the position she holds. So here we go. Jody's work has had and does have a real impact on Lower Merion every single day. She is knowledgeable, steady, deeply competent, and unfailingly kind, which is more important than I think we give credit to. As Township Secretary, and that capital S really does matter, she is at the center of planning, procedure, and coordination that keep our government functioning smoothly. From guiding the Board of Commissioners through complex agendas and public processes to helping residents navigate township government with patience and care. And she does it with remarkable skill and grace. Anyone who's served on any board, or really anyone who works with people, knows the level of experience, talent, diplomacy, and judgment it takes to successfully manage a room full of strong personalities, competing priorities, and passionate opinions. Jody does that work every day with professionalism and good humor, and also an unwavering commitment to Lower Merion and its residents. Her knowledge, leadership, and dedication are truly invaluable to the township. But we do have to put a number on it. So while we can never fully put a number on the value of someone like Jody, this raise is absolutely well-deserved. I feel confident doing this job because of Jody's support, and I honestly feel confident about you all doing this job because of Jody's support. So I do think many of us rely on her institutional knowledge, her guidance, her steady hand more than we recognize. We could at least recognize it once a year. She has a way of making difficult work look effortless, which in my experience is the sign that someone is exceptionally good at what they are doing. So thank you, Jody, for another outstanding year. Anyone else have anything to add to that? No? Okay. So I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor? Thank you, and that passes unanimously. Oh.
Thank you.
That was fun. Okay. Our second item has the same explanation, just a slightly different situation. I would like to make a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners authorization to execute an updated employment agreement for the Township Manager effective January 5th, 2026 through January 3rd, 2028, including a 3.5% salary increase for 2026, plus a $3,000 performance incentive payment. Do I have a second? Thank you, Commissioner Whalen. We do this every year. Any public comment for this item specifically? No? Okay. Any comments or questions from the board?
Yes.
I'll go Commissioner Bernheim first.
Thank you very much. First, we don't do this every year for our township manager. It's when his contract comes up every 2 years. And so that people ought to know that the numbers don't come out of the air on the agenda that are before you. Under the Sunshine Act, we are permitted, when there are issues regarding personnel or employment, to have discussions amongst ourselves, and we do. And then up comes a consensus as to what we're doing and the recommendations. And certainly, and I didn't comment on our township secretary, but nobody flinches. Every single dollar we give her is well-deserved and probably then some. And I always recollect when we first were considering her for that position, those people who were second-guessing, elevating her to that position. And when we do this and we look at all that she's accomplished, I love trying to think of telling them, I told you so. But here tonight, we're now with our township manager. And we have a recommendation here that the township manager receive a $3,000 performance incentive payment. Everybody in this board, because we do meet in executive session, knows I disagree with that. And I'm going to tell you why. And that there's a reason that we do things where we can have the executive session, and then we can come out here in public in order to check what we are doing. And what we are doing here is unfortunately an error. We are evaluating our township manager. I'm going to explain why I'm going to recommend that performance bonus be not $3,000 but $5,000. First, I want to make clear, you don't look at this and say, oh, well, we gave this person X, we should be giving this person Y. It is an individual analysis as to the performance of that person that you are taking a look at. We are so very fortunate to have somebody with the quality and the skills of our township manager. And in the past year that we are contemplating about giving a bonus, among the things, and I am sure that I will miss many that he did, is he had to deal with a $64 million CIP program and see that that was properly overseen, that he deals with the objectives that were set by this board with 14 different commissioners, who I assure you have 18 different opinions. He dealt with the management of the Ardmore Avenue Community Center, helped redesign the Schaffel Plaza, also dealt with the Ardmore streetscape. We have complete construction of the Ashbridge House, which was taken care of, helped develop some of the enhancements to the historic regulations we have, helped promote our affordable housing program that we've been struggling with for a while, has gone on with the approvals now for Ardmore House number 2, has helped with trying to find federal grants to fund the Montgomery Avenue corridor study, has seen the reflections of a 2026 budget for which we have raised taxes to make sure all of those funds that we have now sought to appropriate are going to be properly spent. He has monitored $832,722 in the ARP funds that we still had to administer. And then he has helped define the next steps in our sustainability plan. He has helped implement the fire service strategic plan and has gone on to make sure that for the first time we have consistent financial reportings from each of our 6 fire companies. He's helped monitor the work which has been done with SEPTA for the Ardmore train station. He has been instrumental in implementing the MS4 pollution reduction plan, which we are required to implement. He has dealt with the Phase 1 feasibility study for a potential stormwater fee, which would be something that would be novel. He's helped prioritize our sidewalk installation program and has to deal with PennDOT. That all by itself would merit the raise. For design options at St. Aph's and Belmont Avenue, as well as Lancaster Avenue and Remington Road. We have put in a new employee classification and compensation plan, which he helped usher in through us. We also deal with the deer culling, which has been a program for years that sometimes we were not permitted to do, which was a problem, and that has been back on track. It's helped us with the adoption of a traffic calming policy, which is something every one of my colleagues hears about traffic all the time. He has helped us to try to expand amenities such as a skate park, to develop a 5-year plan for our CDBG, plans. It's helped with our library system so that we can strengthen our library. We have $284,536, which were raised by fundraising. All of that is something that comes under his umbrella. He has dealt with, hold your breath, gas-powered leaf blowers, and the regulations that we've had to deal with that. We've also had in the CIP, we've raised a $25 million bond for financing. Those are only the topic sentences of some of what he does, and he does it with overseeing all of the staff and having the respect of every single one of them. Thus, when we go to analyze that which we want to give for a performance incentive, I think we have shortchanged it. There's a saying, I think Warren Buffett, surround yourself by good people. This township has surrounded themselves with a first-rate manager, and it is for those reasons that I ask everybody to reconsider or to consider that we increase that performance incentive payment from $3,000 to $5,000. So that would be an amendment to the current motion that's on the floor, which would require a second. Thank you, Commissioner Zelhoff.
Okay. Commissioner President Sinai.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner Epstein. So Commissioner Bernheim, by virtue of going first, said about half the things I would have said, but I share many of those things, those comments. One of the things that I would have talked about was a bit about our process that we go through for evaluating these things. So in the background, before the board meets to discuss the performance of the two employees that it directly oversees, the township manager and the township secretary, we fill out for the township manager an extensive performance review. Look back what they were supposed to do over the previous year, look back what they did over the course of the year, and evaluate on a number of characteristics and compile it and meet and discuss it and convey the results to the manager to be able to continue his performance. So in part the process of that is having a meaningful discussion about what appropriate and compensation that reflects what the universal view of the board was really outstanding performance. And I see no need to rediscuss what this board has already discussed about that and try and redefine the consensus that the board achieved. That does not have anything to do with my high opinion of the fellow sitting next to me. It's a little awkward because he's right there, can presumably just hit me if I say something negative about him. But let me just say, Ernie's been the township manager since 2014 when he came here from Westchester. So been here for a dozen years. A sign that this township has an amazing manager is really all the things that we simply do not need to worry about that other townships spend their time worrying about. Like we take for granted here that the fundamental blocking and tackling of the township just works. We're never here talking about whether Public Works is picking up trash or plowing the streets. We're never talking about discovering some issues, unexpected issues with finances. We're never talking about whether Parks and Rec is delivering the amenities our residents want. Like all this stuff just works, right? The other sign that we have an amazing manager is that other municipalities continually tell us that we have an amazing manager. And it gives us some external view. And so having a township that just runs well gives the board time to work on the kinds of initiatives that will be subject to discussion tonight, all the things that we want to do to advance the township and that take a legislative debate as opposed to just sort of maintaining things. And before I've been on this board for a little more than 8 years, and before I started, I really had not appreciated just how complex of an organization this township is. Has a lot of departments working on very many different things. Ernie is an expert in all of them. He knows every detail. You can ask him a question about anything he knows. I don't know how he keeps track of everything, but somehow he does. And he has his finger in every pie here. The other thing that has not yet been said is that he has hired and mentored really amazing staff, right? And when you're looking for someone at the top of your organization, building the organization under you is fundamentally important. I'm not going to name all the amazing staff that he has hired because I'm worried I will leave someone out accidentally and then they'll be offended. But just think about all the amazing people who have joined the township and who are working here that were brought on by Ernie. The other thing he's done is that he's been really good at getting the township to deliver on the commissioner priorities. So as many people know, certainly everyone up here knows, for the last few years, every spring we have gotten together and put together a list and scored a list of what this board thinks the priorities should be. And we ask staff to help us deliver on those priorities, because honestly, those priorities are like a sentence with maybe a couple of other sentences of background. They're not fleshed out. They need to be built, they need to be developed. And we ask this township to adopt our priorities and help us deliver them. And if you look back over previous year's priorities and you do a checklist of the things that were on the list, like, we're hitting most of them, and the reason that we're hitting most of them is Ernie's leadership and guidance in delivering what the representatives of the people here ask him to deliver. The last thing I want to say, because I've had the good fortune to work closely with him for a little more than 4 years now, is that he's a really terrific source of counsel and advice for the people who are sitting up here. He's really an encyclopedia of municipal wisdom. Like the book of how to do local government is the person sitting next to me. Like absolutely everything. And we as a township benefit from that in all sorts of ways, whether it is insurance to land. Has excellent judgment. So I'm thrilled that he's interested in continuing. We have a contract to approve, a new 2-year contract, which binds us and not him. I'm very mindful of that. But I'm glad that this township's going to benefit for his stewardship for 2 more years. And happy to support the proposal, though for the reasons I said, I won't be supporting Commissioner Bernheim's amendment. Thank you, Commissioner Epstein.
Thank you. Commissioner Zello.
So one of my favorite Ernie McNeely stories goes back to the beginning, as I was on the committee that recommended that we hire Ernie to be our manager in 2014. And we said, Ernie, if we hire you, we'd like you to move here, because as you heard, he was in Westchester where he was the borough manager. And really, before we could even finish the sentence, Ernie said, oh, I was planning to do that anyway. And it's important because his predecessor did not live here. Ernie lives here. He moved when he took the job. He knows this township. He understands everything that goes on. He understands this is a demanding community of many different neighborhoods, 13 different zip codes, and all the civic associations, and all that goes on in this complex township. And by living here, it makes a big difference. And we are also a board of 14. There's only one other municipal board in Pennsylvania that's larger than ours. 14 of us with different opinions, and he is fair to all of us in how he responds and how he treats us. And it makes a big difference in how we function as a board. And so I'm delighted to support the contract and the amendment as proposed by Commissioner Bernheim.
Other comments before we vote on the amendment?
If I may have the prerogative just to clear one item up that I think is referenced but may not be appreciated. And that is...
Is this just a further comment? I'm unclear as to the procedure here. You have an amendment already on the floor.
If I may have a minute, or just one thing for clarity. When we're talking about the manager's contract, it is a 2-year contract, and we're talking about the amendment that I've asked for $5,000. That, does not get reviewed again. So you can look at it as $2,500 a year. And that when we talk about a consensus which came out on the agenda, it comes out on the agenda so it can be debated publicly. And that's what the purpose of this is. And if it requires reflection on this for something which I think is more than fair, that's the purpose of making the amendment. I probably should have just allowed President Sinai to speak first and say, all right, those are all the reasons. So I appreciate the moment for that clarity. Thank you.
Okay, and one clarification I will add. The discussion that we initially had about this involved not just the wonderful things we think about Manager McNeely and Secretary Kelly. It was budget, it was financials over past years, it was the evaluations that people sent in. It was multifaceted. So I don't want it to be boiled down to what we say here and how wonderful they are directly equates to a number. It's not that simple. It's part of it, and I enjoyed the opportunity to be able to recognize, we don't get that opportunity every day, people doing good work, but it is not simply how popular and how wonderful they are ties to a number. So just to make that clarification, there was more that went into it. Okay, so we're going to vote on the amendment unless anyone else says anything. Yeah. All right, so unless I'm wrong, we vote on this first and then, okay. So all those in favor of the amendment as proposed by Commissioner Bernheim, please raise your hands. Thank you. All those opposed? And any abstentions? I didn't, it was 3, 4, and then
I didn't see
I didn't see Gil.
Commissioner Kramer, I believe, was on the against.
Okay,
but-
I missed that. Okay,
I voted in favor.
Oh, you in favor of the amendment?
okay.
Okay, so that's
So
4.
it was 40.
All right, so that fails, and then we move to the original motion. We'll vote on that. I don't think I need to reread it again. All those in favor of the original motion, please raise your hands. Okay, thank you. That passes unanimously.
Thank you.
And that concludes the business of the Governance and Administration Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epstein. We're now on to the next committee, which is the Finance Committee. I recognize its Chair, Commissioner Zella.
Thank you, President Sinai. There's one item on tonight's Finance Committee agenda. Is for the committee to consider awarding a contract for upgrades to the Belmont pump station. I'm going to make a motion that the Finance Committee recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to award contracts for Belmont pump station upgrades to the following low bidders in accordance with the bids received on Thursday, April 30th, 2025, with the recommendation of the Chief Financial Officer and the approval of the Director of Public Works. First to Jurich, Inc., total base bid amount of $1,229,000. And second to Electratech, Inc., for electrical construction with total base bid less add alternates, total bid amount of $194,662. Do I have a second? I do, from President Sinai. To explain more about this proposed contract is Jake Lambert, who is our relatively new Deputy Finance Officer. Welcome, Jake, to the first Finance Committee meeting in which you are in charge.
Thank you, Commissioner Zeloff. Good evening. This project is to upgrade the Belmont pump station, which is located where Belmont Avenue meets Green Lane. This will replace our existing pumps, grit removal system, and related equipment. The contracts that you just mentioned total to $1.4 million. In addition to that, $500,000 of equipment will be purchased via CoStars, bringing the total cost of the project to $1,950,000, which is $150,000 or 9% over our budget. We believe this is reasonable given the bids we received. $1 million of this cost will be funded by a grant that was received from the state, and the low bidders have both done good work for us in recent history. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Jake. Are there any members of the public with us this evening who have any questions or comments on this item? Okay, Jody, nothing has changed about online participation. And so it's now time for committee member questions or comments. I think I'm going to ask our township engineer. So this is 9% over the estimate. Joe, do you have any, and there were just 2 bidders for each of the 2 contracts. You're comfortable that it was still a competitive process?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, the 2 bidders were reasonable within, within the, within 10% of where we had thought that the bid would fall. And we've worked with the low bidder in the past, and they've done exceptional work.
We have experience with both proposed contractors?
Yes.
Great. And you did note, Jake, that there was $1 million grant, I believe, from the Commonwealth.
Yes, that's correct.
So the net cost to the township is $950,000.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Committee members with questions or comments on this item? Okay, seeing none, the motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, raise your hand. Are there any opposed? Any abstentions? Madam Secretary, that item passes unanimously. President Sinai, that concludes the business of the Finance Committee for this evening.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Zella. Will the May 20th, 2026 meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Lower Merion please come to order, and all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Farrow and Mr. Woodring asked to be excused. Mr. Bernheim.
Present.
Mr. Courtney.
Here.
Mr. Daly. Here. Ms. Epstein. Mr. Gregory.
Here.
Ms. Kramer. Oh, she is here. She's just not on screen. Ms. McGuire. Here. Dr. Rossman.
Here.
Mr. Timberlake. Here. Mr. Whalen.
Here.
Mr. Zillow.
Here.
Mr. Sinai.
Here.
Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of a stated meeting held on April 22nd, 2026 as distributed. Thank you, Commissioner Bernheim. All those in favor, please raise your hand. That appears to pass unanimously. A few announcements. First, I'd like to welcome the Marion Liberty Scout Troop. They are joining us this evening, hi guys, as part of their work to obtain their Communications Merit Badge. Next, the board met in executive session earlier this evening regarding the following matters: a transfer tax appeal, police recruitment, real estate matters, and staff report on local services tax legislation at the state level. Monday, May 25th, 2026, Memorial Day, is a legal holiday. The Township Administration Building and libraries will be closed for business, and there will be no refuse and recycling collection that day. An Anything with a Plug recycling event will be held on Saturday, June 6, 2026, from 9 a.m. until noon at the Keiko Public Works Complex in Penn Valley. Pre-registration is required. There'll be a $10 fee per air conditioner, dehumidifier, or microwave, a $30 fee per CRT, LCD, LED TV, or computer monitor, and a $100 charge for rear projection or wood console TV. The transfer station will be closed for all other refuse and recycling drop-off that day. So we now turn to public privilege of the floor. This is a section of our meeting where members of the public may address the board on any non-agenda items or any other public matters in which the township has jurisdiction or authority. If you wish to comment on an agenda item, that will be coming later. Please note the following. If you plan to address the board, we're going to ask that you line up at this podium to your left, and you can just start lining up and sitting in that front row there at this time. We ask that you state your name and where you live in the township prior to beginning your comments. And we ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. I should say we require you keep your comments at 3 minutes or less. The township secretary has a timer. The timer has a very loud beep at the end of 3 minutes. It will keep beeping. And please be considerate and yield your time at that point to the next person who is waiting to speak. Lastly, the practice of this board is to respond to all comments at the end after all the comments have been made, or respond to comments, period, only after all comments have been made. So with that, anyone wish to take advantage of public privilege? If so, please come forward.
Hello, my name is Perry Hamilton. I live at 418 Penn Road, Wynwood. And I came to speak this evening against the ban on gas-powered leaf blowers. Recently, I took the opportunity to try my cousin's electric leaf blower. Not a little handheld. This was the big kind that you strap on your shoulders, 2 batteries. It was a fairly new device too, and the batteries were fully charged. The blower moved none of the debris caused by my yard maintenance. It did not move small twigs or small pine cones that result from the natural being of my trees. It did not move hardwood tree leaves more than a handful, more than a foot, and not soft maple, chestnut, and magnolia. And it did not move, and this is important to me, it did not move more than a handful of my hedge clippings. I don't have a huge property, but I do have 200 lineal feet of hedge. And it's very important to get that up. Another aspect of this issue, a quick Google search in this past week, and reading what I consider to be credible articles as a result of it, lead me to the conviction that for America to have widespread use of the batteries necessary requires horribly exploited child labor of the Congo River Valley and other areas. I think it's wrong for this Board of Commissioners or any other lawmaking body to remove our ability to avoid using socially repulsive labor practices. Another Google search reveals that the mining of lithium is extremely damaging to our environment. This damage is far beyond any damage caused by normally safe mining of crude oil or shale gas. Finally, maintaining a clean property is among me and many others' top priorities as a property owner. By far, the most dangerous animal to human beings is the mosquito, and this spring we had plenty of them in Wynwood. My only non-chemical defense against mosquitoes is to maintain a well-clipped lawn with the clippings removed. Maintaining a clean property is healthy for children and other living creatures. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to say one thing before we have any confusion in the room. Mr. Hamilton was speaking about the gas-powered leaf blower ordinance in general, not about what's on the agenda. What's on the agenda tonight is clarifications and amendments to the gas-powered leaf blower ordinance. If you want to speak about those, wait until public comment. If you were correct. You were correct. If you were just here to talk about the fact that we have such an ordinance, this is the time to do it because that ordinance itself is not on the agenda tonight. Okay. Anyone else wish to take advantage of public privilege?
Hi, Max Hauser, 346 Lancaster Avenue, Wynwood. A lot of people have probably heard via internet, TV, newspaper over the last, 6 months, 8 months, what have you, about the proliferation of AI data centers throughout southeastern Pennsylvania. None in Lower Merion, and probably none will ever be in Lower Merion, thanks be to God. But Lower Merion does get mentioned in the discourse surrounding these data centers. I'll paraphrase for you politely, how it gets mentioned. Something like, these are the people benefiting from the economic effects of AI. Meanwhile, the municipalities in which they will operate are the ones seeing the harshest effects in terms of strain on the electrical grid, electrical costs, water scarcity, decreased water pressure, noise, air, and light pollution. I'm not saying that that's what's been said. I don't think that's the whole story, because as we share a grid, I think it's the PJ&M grid, with Data Center Alley in Virginia, which is possibly responsible for electrical costs in the region going up a lot, so shall we share the same grid with the ones that are being proposed all over southeastern Pennsylvania. So depending on how things play out, we could see some of those effects in Lower Merion in terms of the electricity. And even for those of us who think we could absorb the higher electrical costs, I believe we share the same water source as some of these municipalities. I'm not sure, I think. It's never been completely clarified for me. The Schuylkill River. One of the proposed data centers that seems to be moving along the most assuredly is in West Conshohocken, which is very close to Lower Merion. I wonder if some residents of Gladwin could potentially hear the thrum of this new data center if it should appear in West Conshohocken, because the noise can apparently travel quite far. So that all is to say that we could see the impacts. Now, those of you who are all up in this issue might know that there are township advisors are township supervisors who advise their townships sometimes that they should craft ordinances that will regulate, emphasis on the air quotes, how the data centers operate. I've gone to some of these hearings, and I regret to say that some of the people, is that 3 minutes? Oof.
Yeah, that's it.
Shouldn't people in Lower Merion expect that the Board of Commissioners might assiduously keep track of and potentially interject themselves in some way, even though these are happening in other
Understood.
municipalities?
Yeah, thank you. next.
I'm not used to this. My name is, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Carol Wolfington. I live at 535 Mason Place in Bryn Mawr. I've been a member of Lower Merion for 85 years. I'm 85 years old. And I'm here to represent the oldies in our township, of which there are 9,000 of us. And I definitely have concerns about the blower situation, and I'll let you know what they are. Many of us did not know about this because our tech skills are not great. So we didn't know to go on the website. So nobody knew about this. So we're just now starting to understand what's going on here. And I have so many different concerns. An ordinance of this magnitude affecting 64,000 residents. Why is something that affects 65,000 people decided by 14 people? I don't know that answer. And my biggest concern is the cost for the landscapers, because I'm real friendly with my landscaper. He's going to have to quit his job. He said he can't afford $30,000 to get all the equipment. And our whole neighborhood is up in arms about it. So that's a concern. The other thing is the wet leaves. Because I've had 4 friends of my kids killed on wet leaves in cars. And what's going to happen, we're not going to be able to keep up with this. I can't go out and rake my leaves. I can't use an electric blower. I depend on my gardener to get them off. And the streets are going to be covered with wet leaves. The sidewalks, we're going to be I'm on a cane. I don't want to fall. And that's a big concern to me. So maybe you guys can help us through this. I think we need to compromise a little bit here, maybe amend it, and get a public vote. I don't know why we don't have a public vote when it's such a big, huge thing. Maybe you guys can explain it to me. And I'm just happy you're listening. I'm happy I'm here, and I have one more suggestion. Scott's my commissioner, and he's excellent. Most of my friends have no clue who their commissioner is. I just asked people today, who's your commissioner? I don't know. I think they should have a big party and say, meet your commissioner, and get everyone together, because our world is so split up today. I think it'd be a great thing. You can have it in my neighborhood. We'll do it on Mason Place. We have a great party every year there. You're invited, we'll bring all the food, you all show up, and we should all know who you are. Thank you.
Thank you. Someone come next?
I agree with the party. Craig Allen, Marion Station. This is part 2 of a narrative titled Tree Canopy Delights, with delights used both as a verb and a noun. The first installment revealed 3 issues. First, some communities, such as Bala and East Ardmore, had only half as much tree cover as others. Second, canopy had declined in 6 areas, including Kinwood and Belmont Hills. None increased. Finally, most of the 200 annually planted shade trees were placed in the most canopied sections, while others with little tree cover received few trees. The township's urban forest has 3 elements: private property trees, park trees, and shade trees. Each component requires its own particular strategy, but there is one similarity. Restoring tree cover involves planting many more trees. I've been advocating for shade trees, those that line the streets and the public right-of-way. Township leadership has identified 3 high hurdles to planting a larger number: resident apathy, a manpower shortage, and a lack of capital. Tonight we'll consider resident apathy. The good news is that it doesn't exist. Just the opposite. Most residents love trees. As Lower Merion's website says, attractive tree-lined roads is one of the core features that makes the township such a desirable place to live. A 2005 survey asked residents if they wish to see the township plant more trees, and 68% agreed. The 2022 Sustainability Tree Canopy Plan identified the number one concern as the declining number of mature trees. So what explains the admittedly small number of shade tree applications? Leadership says it's resident disinterest. I say it's resident unawareness. The Shade Tree Division has not publicized its activities, not to civic associations, libraries, churches, or schools, not in the township's e-newsletter, Facebook page, or X account, not in the Mainline Times or on LMTV, not anywhere, really. So it's not surprising in speaking with scores of residents, they know little of the Shade Tree Project. Hence, the Door Hanger Initiative, designed to generate familiarity and interest, leading to more tree requests and more trees planted. To date, volunteers have distributed 1,900 informational hangers, nearly all to areas with diminished canopy or significant tree loss. At last check, request volume was running 50% higher than last year, proving that once residents learn about the Shade Tree program, many want a tree. Next month,
Mr. Olin, we're going to
we'll
have to ask
jump
you to
over
stop.
high hurdle number 2, a purported manpower.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to take advantage of public privilege? Please come forward.
Good evening. My name is John Keeler. I live on Cricket Avenue here in Ardmore. I'm here as a representative of the Marion Liberty Troop. I'm an assistant scoutmaster at the troop, and as the president of the commission said, these fine gentlemen over here are taking part in the Communications Merit Badge, which is one of the merit badges required to attain the rank of Eagle Scout. And as part of that merit badge, they're required to attend a public meeting and listen to people express their opinions and listen to countering opinions and see how people do that in a public meeting setting. So I wanted to express my appreciation to you for being here and for providing an opportunity for them to both see civil discourse in action and to get a wonderful example of how that can be done in a productive manner for the town and for the world around them. I'm also here as a representative of the Marion Cub Pack 71 because I'm also a den leader of the Cub Pack, because once they get you for one job, they get you for all of them. And I'm a den leader for Weeblo's Den of 26 fourth graders. And I've been in contact with Commissioner Sparrow, who let me know she wasn't going to be here, but I wanted to say she came shortly after becoming a member of the commission, along with former Commissioner Churchill, who is a previous scoutmaster of the Marion Liberty Troop. They came to a meeting and spoke to 26 very enthusiastic fourth graders about the job of the township commissioner, about our town in general, and got a bunch of kids actually excited about civic information and the town around them. And so I have for Commissioner Sparrow a bunch of thank you notes that they wrote, and I wanted to deliver them tonight, so I'll bring them over to you and just again say thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to take advantage of public privilege?
Orsolya Lazar, Marion Station resident, and I have spoken before about the tree canopy and the canopy loss in Lower Marion Township. I just want to emphasize what Craig already gave you information and gave some more data that you may or may not have seen, although some of it or a lot of it was included in my resignation 2 years ago when I resigned from the Shade Tree Commission. I just want to say that the Shade Tree Commission, or the Tree Canopy Management Plan that was created by Davey Research Group in 2008 recommended planting 400 trees a year, street trees. And since then, most of the years we only had 100 trees planted for street trees. And we have about, well, used to have 23,000 some street trees in the township. And research shows that the mortality rate for township trees, urban trees, is about 3.7 to 5.6% or higher. So if you're doing the math, it will come up way higher than 100 trees per year, what the township claim is the loss every year that would have to be replaced. Because the township code requires the same number of trees be planted, how many we are losing. It appears that the numbers don't add up because when we're looking at comparing the tree inventory from 2008 with the 2017 tree inventory, that shows that there had been 13% loss in the number of trees for street trees. So if you're doing the math, it's actually almost exactly the difference between how much was planted and what was recommended to be planted by the Davie Management Plan. So I would like to emphasize that other municipalities really work together with their shade tree commission and other environmental advisory councils and other volunteers to educate people, because most municipalities do not have the resources or staff time to do the educational work. They also make decisions about species, so the highest value, best trees are planted for each location, giving the highest benefits for residents. And I don't think that's happening here, and I know from personal experience that the Shade Tree Commission was not allowed to do any of the educational work, that other municipalities have Shade Tree Commissions that are performing that work. So I would like you to give the power to the Shade Tree Commission that is given by the Township Code and the State Code for Shade Tree Commissions. And please let them do their work. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to take advantage of public privilege?
Good evening, I'm Holly Manzoni, Wynwood, and I was really touched by the comments about our township manager. I think most of us in Lower Merion don't even know who Ernie is, but we benefit every day from the excellent job he's doing, so I want to thank you, Ernie. I also want to thank all of you commissioners, because this isn't a fun job sometimes. There are issues like leaf blowers that you're never going to make everybody happy. There's one side that's very opposed and one side that really wants to do it. But I'm very proud of all of you for passing that ban in November. This is the first in our Commonwealth. And a lot of other localities are looking at what you've done, and I feel very proud to live in a township that takes the interest of its people and the health and safety of its people so much at heart. And I think change is hard for everybody. I feel bad for landscapers whose jobs are dependent on using some of this, but as the technology is improving and we know what's going on with the gas prices now, I think electric equipment is looking better and better all the time. So I urge you to be proud of yourselves and the job you did in November in passing this historic ban, and stay with it. You're going to be hearing stuff back and forth, and I hope it'll all settle down so that we don't have to have these marathon meetings where you have to listen to many hours of public comment. You know, you passed the ban because of what the majority of the people want. You're not going to make everybody happy, but you did the right thing in November, and it's still the right thing now. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to take advantage of public privilege? Please come forward.
Hi, my name is Faye Wright. I live in Ballackinwood on East Levering Mill Road. I also want to say thank you for being here and giving of your time in the position of commissioners. I know it takes a lot. I wasn't really coming here to speak tonight, and I am coming with a very small request. I'm concerned about the intersection of Belmont and East Levering Mill in terms of its safety for pedestrians. I have spoken before regarding that matter. The intersection lends itself to near misses for pedestrians. I have had a number of near miss encounters where I've almost been hit by a car. One of the problems is there is a very large metal box on one of the traffic light poles at the intersection where SIDS used to be. So I think that would be the northwest corner. But I would encourage all of you, when you're driving down East Levering Mill, to access Manayunk or City Avenue, as many people do. When you're at that intersection, to take a look to your left, and there is a huge obstruction for a sight line on that corner. And we're directed to cross on that side. There's a big sign on the other side of the street, do not cross on the right side, because there's a right-hand turn arrow. I know it's a PennDOT affiliated intersection, but I would love to work with my commissioner, Lou, and anybody else who would be willing to work with me, if you guys can put me in touch with PennDOT people. I think it is a very unsafe intersection for pedestrians. So I'd like to direct your attention to that matter and take a look when the next time you're at that intersection. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to take advantage of public privilege? Okay, so before I turn it to my colleagues to respond, let me just quickly address, I guess, two things. First is, again, welcome to the Scout Troop who is here. You picked a good night to hear discourse, I think. And then the second is, I think, to Ms. Carol Wolf, I think, from Bryn Mawr. I just wanted to address one.
Wolfington.
Sorry?
Wolfington.
Wolfington, sorry about that. Thank you, Commissioner Zeloff. So I just wanted to address one thing about just the governance organization of this township. Because the question was asked about how was the ordinance decided by 14 people that affects 65,000 people. And truth be told, everything in this township that affects 65,000 people is decided by the 14 people on this board. For the things that are not decided by the state or the Commonwealth, right, and the federal government, for things that are decided by at the local, it's us, we're elected. And that's what the commissioner elections are for. There are 14 wards in this township. Every commissioner represents a ward. Though we represent the entire township, I guess we should say we're elected by a ward. And so that's how it works. And so, your choice of commissioner is important, right? Because we're making decisions that affect everyone's day-to-day lives. And, we live in a representative democracy, and we are elected as representatives to act on behalf of the people and hopefully deliver the township that our residents want, though I think, as we heard earlier tonight, not every resident wants exactly the same thing. But I think everyone up here is trying to do the best possible job they can to deliver their sense of what would make for a great Lower Merion Township. The other thing I want to add in just respond to those comments is like, in terms of disseminating information about what we're doing, probably the gas power leaf blower ordinance is a good example of this. For ordinances like that, we distribute them a month in advance before they're ever heard. And then we have a series of public meetings. For this particular ordinance, the public meetings ended up being, I think, a total about 15 hours of public testimony. So they were lengthy meetings and publicized as best as we can. But really, to know what's going on in your local government, you need to tune in. And there are all sorts of opportunities to tune in, and they range from going on the township website to signing up for the township's email newsletters, right? Everything that gets on here is in public and distributed as publicly as possible to as many people as possible. Nothing gets done in secret. You've seen this, tonight. And so I just encourage anyone who might be tuning in to sign up and continue to tune in. And understand what's going on in your local governments, and it's important. Okay, so with that, do any of my colleagues wish to respond to public privilege? Commissioner Zeloff.
Thank you, President Sinai. Thanks for members of the public speaking tonight. We did hear a comment about a majority of residents agreeing with the restrictions on gas blowers. That's, in my view, not at all clear. I think what's clear and was done according to the right process was a majority of this board approved the code in which there are restrictions placed on the use of gas leaf blowers starting very soon. But it's not at all clear that a majority of residents agree with that. As you all know, yesterday was election day, and as is always my practice, I'm at the polls from open to close. And people asked, people complained, people were unhappy and worse. And to my surprise, there was a institution with fairly large property that didn't know about the restriction on gas blowers that is imminent. And so there is some responsibility to be aware of what's going on in the township, but at the same time, something as momentous a change as is coming with these restrictions, it is incumbent on the township to be continually communicating about it. I think that I want to thank Mr. Hamilton and Ms. Wolfington for their comments about the impact on landscapers, the risk of wet leaves, which has not been discussed, and pride in your property, which I thought was very well stated. So if I could choose, this board at some point would consider some delay in our implementation of a year-round ban, which, while is a few years away, I think is also premature based on the technology that exists today. I also want to welcome the Scouts. The discourse is continuing. Thank you, President Seiler.
Thank you, Commissioner Zoloff. Anyone else wish to respond to public privilege? Commissioner Timberlake.
Thank you, President Sunday. I just wanted to respond to Ms. Wright and to let you know if you could reach out to me, I would be interested in talking to you more about that particular intersection. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Timberlake. Commissioner Rossman.
As a previous Scout, I'd like to welcome you, and I sort of remember doing the same thing, but it's ancient times for me. But, excuse me. Anyway, Faye, I'll be glad to meet you at the intersection anytime. As you know, we've talked about trees, we've talked about Levering Mill Road. It's a whole new street now, thanks to you and your neighbors fighting for the survival of the trees and the shade that we get on Levering Mill Road. So why don't we just write me, we'll make a time. Thanks. We can change things. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Rossman. Anyone else wish to respond to public privilege? Okay, seeing none, thank you to everyone who spoke. If we didn't respond, it's not that we are ignoring you, it's that we've taken this in and we just need to process this. And we appreciate all the comments. So with that, we're going to turn to public comment. This is a section of our meeting where members of the public may address the board on all agenda items, except for the ordinance setting the 2026 sanitary sewer rental rate. That sanitary sewer rental rate hearing, where comments will be made on that item, will be held later in the meeting. But this is the opportunity to comment on anything else that's on the agenda. If you plan to address the board, we ask that you kind of queue up at this podium again. Try and keep this moving efficiently tonight. I think most people here know the drill. We ask that you state your name and where you live in the township. You have 3 minutes. The beeper will go off at the end of 3. You can see the time up there. There are large numerals on the clock. And, you know, if there's a group who are attending who are speaking on the same topic, rather than repeating, we ask that you just select a spokesperson to speak for you, just to keep things moving along. And again, we'll respond at the end. Please, sir, go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Dr. David Pohl. I'm a clinical professor of medicine at the University of Pennsylvania. I'm a practicing cardiologist for the past 42 years. And I've lived at 422 Garden Lane in Bryn Mawr for 34 years now. I'm here to urge you to reject the proposed amendment to the gas-powered leaf blower ordinance that would exempt wheeled gas-powered leaf blowers from the phase-out. Most municipalities with this policy already in effect in our region do not exempt wheeled gas-powered machines. These are strong ordinances, exactly as passed, so is ours. To change it with this amendment means this will no longer be the case. Wheeled gas-powered leaf blowers impact human and environmental health in much the same way as backpack and handheld gas-powered blowers. The wheeled machines of many different types and sizes, some comparable in size and price to small push lawn mowers, operate at as loud or louder decibels, emit polluting toxins, and blow at the same speeds but with far greater power. To exempt them now will pave the way for this category of gas leaf blowers to operate freely across Lower Merion Township, on residential, commercial, and institutional properties all year long. This proposed exemption is a major policy change, not a clarification. This amendment is inconsistent with the ordinance's stated intent and Lower Merion Township Sustainability Plan. It reverses a crucial component, by definition, in the ordinance codified last November. The public health and sustainability goals of the ordinance will be effectively erased. Lower Merion Township became a model for other townships because the board enacted a policy that took into consideration well-researched evidence from physicians, researchers, and many reputable scientific and policy organizations. The conclusion: gas-powered leaf blowers of all types are harmful to public health and the environment, hence Lower Merion Township's decision to phase them all out. The Board of Commissioners passed a painstakingly scrutinized ordinance, the first in our Commonwealth, though following a national trend, to end the use of these hazardous machines, inspiring neighboring townships to move to do the same. Our region promises to be safer and healthier because the Board of Commissioners of Lower Merion put the policy in place. The proposed amendment to allow loud, toxic gas leaf blowers on wheels, from small walk-behinds available for under $400 to truck-mounted systems any time of year in perpetuity, now puts this promise at enormous risk. This amendment will mean wheeled gas-powered machines are likely to proliferate rather than cease in Lower Merion Township. Is this what you intend as our governing body? You've heard why the exemption for chemical mists and pesticide applicators should not be approved. Both of the proposed amendments will weaken the existing ordinance and in turn decidedly weaken the protection of public health in Lower Merion.
Thank you.
Charles Klein, Kinwood. Concerning the amendment regarding wheeled leaf blowers, this is not a clarification, but a substantive change which contradicts the ordinance's stated purpose. The ordinance reads in part, and I quote, "Gas-powered leaf blowers create air pollution and noise pollution. They contribute to climate change through the release of greenhouse gas emissions and impair the health, social welfare, peace, and quality of life of persons residing and working in Lower Merion Township. Exposure to fine particulate matter may impact workers using this equipment, individuals with respiratory conditions, children, and other vulnerable populations, as we just heard," unquote. This is what was advertised, what was subject to public debate, and what was approved by the Board of Commissioners in a 10-4 vote last November, as I'm sure you all remember. There's nothing in the ordinance's purpose, the one we now have and the one that was available for public comment and repeatedly discussed at hearings last fall, about whether the public health and environmental harms this ordinance protects against are produced by handheld, backpack, wheeled, or mounted machines. Nor does it say anything about whether these harms are produced either by two-stroke or four-stroke machines. The current approved ordinance defines gas-powered leaf blower as, and I quote, "any handheld backpack or tow-behind leaf blower or other device fitting this definition of leaf blower, which is directly powered by an internal combustion or rotary engine using gasoline or other hydrocarbon fuel," unquote. And then it goes on to define leaf blower as, and I quote, "a device that is commonly or primarily used, designed, or operated to produce a current of air for the purpose of moving, pushing, propelling, dispersing, redistributing, blowing leaves, dust, dirt, gardening, or grass clippings and cuttings, trimmings from trees, shrubs, refuse, debris, or other similar materials other than snow or water, whether portable, carried, or similar machine," end quote. This is clear. Gas-powered leaf blowers, whether they're held in the hand, carried on the back, or moved on wheels, will not be permitted because they pose a health risk to our community. Please help me understand why we are backpedaling on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Please come up.
I'm Marion Williams from Ballackinwood. I also want to understand why you are considering reducing the scope of the approved ordinance. The proposed amendment states in part, there has been uncertainty about whether large wheeled leaf removal machines such as walk-behind, stand-on, riding, and tow-behind units with engines permanently integrated into their chassis are subject to the prohibition. These machines are operationally and functionally distinct from the handheld and backpack blowers the ordinance was intended to regulate. But they are not distinct. They generate high-velocity air to blow leaves, like their non-wheeled counterparts. What matters most is their impact. Their harmful impact is exactly the same. All gas-powered leaf blowers emit dangerous toxins, are harmfully loud, blow very high air volumes, with CFMs far exceeding those of backpacks and handhelds. There was no ambiguity in the approved ordinance. It was written to ban all gas-powered leaf blowers. What the amendment does is reduce the scope of all. It sharply reduces the efficacy of the past ordinance. It even suggests to landscapers an equipment substitution that will escape the ordinance. It will allow all year round, I quote, leaf removal equipment that is originally manufactured with the engine and blower housing permanently integrated into a wheeled chassis, including walk-behind, stand-on, riding, and tow-behind leaf blowers. I see the proposed amendment for what it is, a significant change that increases health risks and dilutes the intent of the sustainability plan by permitting a category of gas-powered leaf blower that comes in various models and can readily be used in place of battery-powered alternatives. If the intention of the board was to exempt wheeled gas-powered leaf blowers, then why was it not included in the original ordinance? What has changed? Who needs this? What was written, reviewed, and approved was the phasing out of gas-powered leaf blowers, not just handhelds and backpacks. And if wheeled gas leaf blowers are prohibited sometime in the future, how are the people who buy them now going to feel then? Please don't vote for this exemption.
Hello, I'm Beth Mark. I live in Lower Merion, Ward 12. I'm a physician, and I'm deeply concerned about the proposal to exempt wheeled gas-powered leaf blowers from the Township ordinance. Previous speakers have spoken to the health impacts, so I won't repeat them here, but I want to point out that the danger becomes even greater during the hot weather like we've been experiencing this week. Higher temperatures and strong sunlight accelerate chemical reactions in the atmosphere. When these gas-powered engines emit pollutants, those chemicals react in the heat and sunlight to form ground-level ozone, smog, which is especially dangerous for children, older adults, people with asthma, and outdoor workers. Heat waves also create stagnant air conditions. High-pressure systems trap pollution close to the ground, exactly where we breathe it, preventing these contaminants from dispersing. This pollution does not stop at property lines. Air is the great equalizer. Residents breathe it, children breathe it, commissioners breathe it, and the landscapers operating these machines, the people with the greatest exposure, breathe it most of all. So this is not simply a question about landscaping equipment, it is a public health issue. Allowing this exemption would represent a significant step backward from the township's commitment to protecting community health. It would also create an obvious loophole in an ordinance that was carefully debated and thoughtfully enacted. It's easy to imagine wheeled gas-powered blowers becoming a workaround that undermines the intent of the ordinance. Lower Merion Township has shown leadership on this issue, and I urge you not to reverse the course now. We all share the same air. We all share responsibility for protecting it. I respectfully ask you to reject this exemption and continue supporting policies that protect the health and the well-being of everyone in this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Isabel Melvin, Winwood.
I'd like to share a few of the full ban ordinances already in effect for years in communities like ours. They do not allow wheel-based gas-powered leaf blowers. Municipalities make this clear through language similar to what is in the current Lower Merion Township gas-powered leaf blower ordinance. Montclair, New Jersey, full ban since 2023. The mayor was here at our meetings. A leaf blower, quote, a leaf blower that is powered by an engine using gasoline or a mixture of gasoline and oil blend as fuel, commonly or primarily used, designed, or operated to produce a current of air for the purpose of pushing, propelling, or blowing leaves, dirt, gardening or grass clippings and cuttings, refuse, debris, chemical mists, pesticides, or other similar material, whether portable and carried or walked behind, or attached to a tractor or similar machine, unquote. That's what Montclair did. Washington, D.C., full ban since 2022, prohibits the use of gasoline-powered leaf blowers in the District of Columbia, period. Larchmont, New York, full ban since 2022. No internal combustion leaf blower shall be operated in Larchmont at any time. Mamaroneck, New York, full ban since 2025. Quote, any leaf blower powered by an internal combustion engine which discharges a stream of forced air and which is used or designed to move grass, leaves, clippings, dust, dirt, or other matter by blowing them with air emitted by such a device, unquote. And here's one more. There are two, but I only have time for one. 2 full-year ordinances that allow the use of wheel blowers in very limited form. White Plains, New York, full ban since 2025. No person shall operate an internal combustion leaf blower. That's in quotes. They too have an exception for turbine debris blowers only on pervious surfaces of greater than 50 acres. This too allows for uses on golf courses. These are some of the places that have banned all gas-powered leaf blowers with the policy already in full effect, no matter how they are held, carried, pushed, or pulled. Gas leaf blowers are prohibited, and these localities are successfully managing leaves and debris, following their policy on municipal, commercial, and residential properties. If they can do it, why can't we? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hallie Friedman from Marion. Thank you all, including those of you with whom I vehemently disagree. Your dedication to our community is laudable, notable, admirable, and deeply appreciated. A special shout out to my own commissioner, who you've all chosen to be president wisely. The wise, patient, and perhaps forgiving Todd Sinai, I don't know. You're our commissioners. We elected you. We're taxpayers, voting residents. You represent us. You are our voice. We have empowered you to act on our behalf. And the staff you hire, you've heard how phenomenal they are, we pay their salaries. The voting public does. You set the policy in our public interest, and the staff implement that policy. We've heard commissioners tell us that the staff cannot implement the ordinance that was advertised, discussed, and passed in November. Mr. Bernheim, Commissioner Bernheim, and Commissioner Sinai extolled the virtues of Mr. McNeely. And given all that, it is doubly impossible to understand how our phenomenal township employees cannot do this when we have just heard that employees, staff in other townships with identical climates and geography up and down the eastern seaboard can do this. And they've been doing it for years, as you've just heard. It makes no sense. We are a wealthy community. The Economist wrote up your ordinance in November. This was international news, and you are about to undo it. We do not understand how it is possible that our phenomenal staff, well-paid here, can't do what other people do. Our township has 8,000 residential acres, and the community, people, live on only, 8,000 residential acres where we live, and only 800 acres are municipal, maintained by the staff. These are picnic areas, parks, pools, playgrounds where children are. If the staff are compelling this amendment, and I don't know that they are, then the lawn maintenance concerns of merely 800 acres are trumping the health and safety of all of us who live on the remaining 8,000 acres. And most of those 800 acres are in places like playgrounds and pools where children are, where dangerous machines should not be at all. A vote of yes on this amendment means that you will be simultaneously endangering your own employees' health. They deserve safety as well as township residents, taxpayers do. And you will be endangering the rest of us. The staff doesn't make policy, you do. Please maintain this phenomenal ordinance, which was passed at great pains by all of you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nancy Winkler. I live in Ward 12. I'm a member of the Environmental Advisory Council and was heavily involved for many years on working on the work for the Environmental Advisory Council on a gas-powered leaf blower ban. I'm here to talk about process and to just make sure the record is clear on some of the things that the Environmental Advisory Council has rolled up their sleeves and worked on and prepared thoughtful, I would consider expert, written communications through the process. It goes to our sustainability manager. It is our understanding that our work is then provided to the sustainability committee, and that the sustainability committee is aware of the work that when we hold a public meeting, we include our work as attachments to the agendas so that the work is known to the public. And so I would just like to give a few facts that at the March meeting for the EAC, we approved a memorandum to go to the Board of Commissioners because we were concerned about the possibility that there would be an amendment or that there could have already been an amendment put in place. It was very confusing at the public meeting in November, that last meeting. So we thought it was important for the record. I'd like to just read a little bit from that memo. The argument for removing this is the issue of the gas-powered leaf blower for chemical and pesticides applications is almost the identical piece of equipment operating with the same two-stroke internal combustion engine and in turn produces the same public health and environmental harms, including use including such use in the original ordinance was correct. Battery-powered models are available and used by pest control businesses in municipalities that have prohibited gas-powered blowers. So that was March. We had a meeting, our EAC meeting was the last week in April. We were not informed in any way that 4 days later, there would be a new amendment that was going to be brought before the public, and we found out by reading that. So I just would like to just let you all know that there is a memo. I don't know who has seen it from the board, but it was approved by the EAC in the March meeting. And the process of having sat in a meeting, for me as a single member, I am not speaking for the whole EAC, but to have sat in a meeting on a Tuesday night and then on Friday finding out through public information that this is happening really affects my feelings about being a member of the EAC.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Krishna Khan. I live in Ardmore. I want to start. I've lived in Lower Merion my whole life. I'm almost 30 years old. And I want to ask, what are the exact needs that compel this, frankly, poison pill after the fact exemption? The Board of Commissioners wisely included an end date in the ordinance so that in 2029, Lower Merion Township would be free of this threat to public health. The concerns about public health and environmental impact have not changed. This ordinance was adopted because all gas-powered leaf blowers are dangerous. We ask, please do not compromise our safety. Wheeled gas-powered machines create their own distinct hazards to public health and safety. Manufacturer manuals of tow-behinds warn, among other things, that operators must wear protective gear, including ear protection for noise exposure, and clear the area of people, especially small children. So how exactly will this be enforced? Also, change has already begun. Residents and civic-minded institutions, as well as landscapers, are already gearing up to comply with the ordinance. Landscapers are purchasing new battery-powered leaf blowers. Institutions like Bryn Mawr College and residents are investing in electric leaf removal equipment because they understood Lower Merion was committed to this transition with on the June 9th implementation date. If the Board of Commissioners reverses this law to allow exemptions for the wheel-based gas leaf blowers, it rewards delay and is unfair to those who have already started moving and investing and purchasing in the ordinance's stated direction. I urge you to vote no on this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Tim Bartran from Kinwood, and thanks for the opportunity to speak on this. I'm requesting that the amendments to the gas-powered leaf blower ordinance be rejected. And my bona fides in this, I'm a PhD environmental engineer, do research, but I cut my teeth doing small engine research and on everything from 2-cycle to 4-cycle to diesel or Wankel, if anybody remembers those. The amendments were delivered without any justification, so we're left to kind of argue against things that we don't know. I'm going to pick one piece because the previous speakers picked other ones, and that piece is the possibility that the amendment was proposed because people thought, well, you know, maybe these 4-cycle engines that tend to be on the leaf blowers with wheels, maybe they're not so bad environmentally. You know, maybe they're not quite as bad as 2-cycle engines, although you can put wheels on a 2-cycle engine too. But they're not as good as having electric leaf blowers. The wheeled leaf blowers, even if they have 4-cycle engines, they still pollute, sometimes as much as 2-cycle engines. If the engine is poorly maintained, it can produce a lot of pollution. You have blow-by the rings, and you guys have all seen with your own eyes. You know, you start your lawnmower after a season of not using it. You get blue smoke or white smoke. That's not good. And the particular elements that are, or the compounds that are in there, you have particulate matter. You have NOxes that can contribute to ground level ozone. You have hydrocarbons. All of those are there just as with a 2-cycle engine. So if the justification for this amendment was, hey, there's not going to be that much pollution, that much more pollution, I would disagree as a subject matter expert on that. A second possible justification is that that there will be less noise. I don't know, you know, how you would think that if you've experienced some of these wheeled leaf blowers, but let's say that's one of the motivations for this. It turns out not to be true. There are at least 2 types of noise that come from these gas-powered leaf blowers. There's fan noise and engine noise. Fan noise on these pull-behind ones is fierce, and you guys have probably heard it. The other problem is that leaf blowers operate for a long time. And I'm not an expert in the neurology of sound exposure, but I believe that the duration of the exposure as well as the intensity, those are both important. So those argue against having these gas-powered wheeled leaf blowers. So, you know, in closing, I ask you to reject the amendments or the proposed changes to the ordinance. And I would also request that we have some indication of the justification or where these came from, because standing up here, I can't argue against something that I haven't been informed on.
Thank you.
Hi, Sarah Pevroff-Shu. I'm a 20-year resident of Ballackinwood. I'm the owner of a landscape architecture and planning firm. I'm going to try to abbreviate so I'm not repeating what other folks have said. Gas-powered leaf blowers are not all large machines. If used for public works or on large places. If the ordinance exempts all wheeled gas-powered leaf blowers, machines of all sizes could then be used on residential properties. The proposed exemption would encourage landscapers and residents to purchase and use wheeled blowers in lieu of safer battery-operated equipment that they would otherwise be transitioning to. I just want to show you a few examples. These are what wheeled equipment looks like. Take a look at that giant truck. All are prohibited in the ordinance right now because they all pose health issues. Commercial backpack blowers typically operate up to 1,000 cubic feet per minute, while wheeled systems produce many times that airflow. I'm going to pull out a few of these ugly statistics. Up to 14,500 for stand-ins, up to 10,000 for mounted systems. So wheeled equipment is worse. It's actually worse. I hope that you don't want to invite these toxic, loud machines that have hurricane force into our communities. I'd like to think that our commissioners, many of you who care deeply about public health and about the environment, don't want to undo what you did last fall, because it was heroic and very much needed. With lightweight walk-behinds, anybody for $400 could purchase one and use it on their street. And on my street, it's going nonstop, hours, all day long. This is not what I think you voted for to happen last fall. And it's not what this constituent asked for, and I think most of your constituents are not looking for you to undo what you did. This amendment would effectively replace the handheld and backpack blowers with something worse. So just think about that. And please, don't even advertise this. It's not well thought out.
Good evening. Thank you, Commissioners. I'm Stu Friedman, a 40-year resident of Marion Station. I'm also the founding director of the Wharton Leadership Program 36 years ago. And I want to speak about change and leadership. For large-scale efforts to succeed, leaders have to be clear about the reason for change. They have to be transparent to the people, and they have to show them how they can be a part of creating a better future, a better tomorrow. The proposed amendment to exempt wheeled machines complicates and generates confusion as to what's allowed and what's not. This kind of unexplained complexity and ambiguity make real sustainable change harder to achieve because people aren't clear about what it means and how it's going to make their lives better. If the amendment passes, we're going to have gas-powered leaf blowers in operation all year long, everywhere. Our ordinance was the result, as you've heard, of extensive public input, scientific evidence, you've heard more tonight, marshaled by our community, and the board's careful consideration. It's clear and it's simple. No gas leaf blowers. What's unclear about that? Who's asking for these exemptions? Is it pregnant women, the elderly, people with lung and heart conditions, young children? Who wants the ordinance that promised to protect us weakened? Who wants that? We became the first Pennsylvania municipality to adopt a phase-out. Thankfully, this board demonstrated a profound responsibility to our community and enacted policy to protect our health. Township residents and employees and landscaping workers, other municipalities are watching us. They're following our example. They're looking to your leadership and your conviction to protect human and environmental health as inspiration for their own. To diminish these protections will diminish the strength of what has already been achieved. If Lower Merion's history-making ordinance moves now to include exemptions for wheeled machines and for pesticide applicators, it'll make ours one of the weakest among all the full-year bans on the East Coast. In turn, as our ordinance is imitated, the region will suffer from less protection against these toxic machines. Please vote to prevent us and other townships from seeing our board bend to the will of interests, whoever they are, that don't prioritize our public health. Our township's efforts should now be devoted to ensuring everyone knows why our ordinance is a good thing, why it was enacted, how its aim is to protect the public from known hazards, and what each and every one of us can do to realize its promise. 2 weeks before it goes into effect in our first gas leak blower-free summer, our ordinance should not be undermined. It should be led into being, we should be celebrating it as a model for how community working together with dedication and leadership from the governing body.
Mr. Friedman, thank you very much.
To protect us,
Thank you.
the people. Thank you.
Anyone else, please come forward.
Hi.
You can pick that up. It'll be a little easier for you. You have a little bit of height. Like you can literally take the microphone out of the stand.
No,
It'll be
I
easier.
see,
Okay,
but
yeah.
it's good enough. Thank you.
Just pick up the whole podium.
I'm Matt Morgan.
Here we go.
Yeah.
I live on Green Lane in Penn Valley, close to Belmont Hills. We have lived in Penn Valley for 8 years now. We came from New York City, which was quieter than where we live now, honestly. Most of my professional work is in nonprofits, trying to help them direct their operations toward their mission. What can you do in technology? What can you do in your administrative work that actually drives the mission? So it's not a battle between what the program people want and what the bean counters want. Get it all work together. I don't think Lower Merion has a mission statement. I looked for one, but even if it's not explicit, it's something like being one of the nicest places to live anywhere, which it is, with 2 exceptions: overhead lines that are ugly and all the noise. Since COVID, I've worked at home. The excessive noise undermines our quality of life. You've heard about the health issues. Obviously, that's serious. You haven't heard that much about the noise, but I've had to. I wear a headset. I use a noise-canceling microphone at home to have meetings for work. It's nuts. I also want to address an earlier comment about the cobalt in the Congo. It's true. But manufacturers have been aware of it for a couple years. They're cleaning up their supply chains. Modern lithium-ion batteries use little or no cobalt, and future ones will probably use no cobalt. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to do public comment? Please come forward.
O'Shea Laza, Marion resident. I would say that leaf blowers are designed to move leaves, not pine cones, not branches, not rocks, not dirt. There are many other equipment, different tools to do those things. Leaf blowers are really designed to move leaves. And the township's education brochure mentions just that. It's all about gas-powered leaf blowers. It doesn't mention what kind. It's all about gas power. And the other thing that I want to point out that the brochure only mentions electric leaf blowers as option for alternative to gas-powered leaf blowers. I think I mentioned it in other meetings before that it is important to educate residents and landscapers about the many different options, how they can manage leaves. There's, having different landscape design, there's different kind of equipment. It's not just an alternative between gas-powered versus electric, buying electric and making it sound like that's the only option, sounds like it's a really expensive way to make our township better, but it doesn't have to be. I also would like to point out that mosquitoes cannot be really well managed by eliminating vegetation, but they really effectively managed by BTI or other ways called mosquito dung. So that's a really good way for anybody who's concerned about that. And I'm a mosquito magnet, so I can speak for that, and I know how it works. allowing larger gas power equipment would be similar to allowing what was done in the 70s, allowing SUVs to have worse fuel efficiency than cars, which allowed the expansion of the huge growth of the size of the vehicles that are on the roads, which resulted in the giant SUVs and trucks on the road right now compared to what is happening in other parts of the world. So it's exactly the opposite of what we're trying to achieve. But from the comments that came before me, it's obvious that the township, even though it's doing a wonderful job in many different ways, the township is not doing a great job in educating residents or even reaching out and informing residents about what's happening in the township. Again, I would like to ask for the township to allow volunteers that are volunteering their time to educate residents, work with landscapers, and provide information to do what they're trying to do to make it easier for the township to regulate and make our township cleaner, quieter. And some resident offered to distribute brochures, and they were told that the township doesn't have money.
Thank you. Yep. Anyone else wish to take advantage of public comment?
Hi again, Faye Wright, Bella Kenwood. So I didn't mean to speak tonight, but I might as well speak twice. I would like you all to reject this proposed amendment. I support the ordinance as it was passed in the fall. I find, number one, living in Bala Cynwyd with the small size properties that we have, I am surrounded by loud machines during the day. And I find that very disquieting. Everybody else has given you multiple reasons to not approve these amendments, and I second them. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to make public comment? Okay, seeing none, before I go to my colleagues, I give our sustainability manager an opportunity to answer anything that you want to answer. Hi.
Just address public comment generally. Yeah.
Sure, yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. I guess I just want to level set what is before the board tonight. I appreciate all the public comment and all of the passion behind this, but the ordinance that was passed in November was never intended to restrict wheeled leaf removal equipment or chemical sprayers. That was clear to staff. I believe that was clear to a lot of the board. I thought it was clear to the public. We found out after it was rolled out that there was different interpretations. What we've been telling people who want to comply, who are calling and asking, are walk-behind leaf blowers permitted? We've been saying yes for the last 6 months. So people have made purchasing decisions accordingly. Some of the large institutions that are being proactive in complying with the ordinance, they have every intention of using large wheeled equipment as a solution, in addition to transitioning to electric equipment where they can. And they've shared with me that they have every intention of using that equipment. That's part of their strategy with complying with this ordinance. So just to clarify, this was what was brought before the Sustainability Committee a couple weeks ago was simply meant to be a clarification, make it easier for people who are reading the ordinance who haven't been steeped in this for the last 5 or more years to understand what's being said. Because we were getting so many of those questions that made it evident that it wasn't entirely clear. So again, just to clarify, large wheeled equipment was permissible because it was omitted in the definition of gas-powered leaf blowers. So most of those, walk behind, stand on, all that was not in the definition, and therefore it was permitted. So again, this was just meant to clarify that and to uniformly apply guidance that we've been giving sort of informally over the last 6 months. I just want to clarify also, nothing in the amendments touches any of the key provisions of the ordinance. The phase-in timeline's the same, the start of seasonal restrictions, the permanent ban are exactly as adopted in November. And I think it's a good opportunity to address the EAC process issue specifically, is that it was seemingly such a minor thing that was coming before that it didn't even rise to the level of something that needed to, that we thought needed to be discussed with the EAC, because it really, the intent was just pure clarification. Besides that, if there is a community desire to see, wheeled equipment or chemical sprayers be eliminated, if that's the will of the board, that's certainly something that can be discussed. And the EAC did bring forward a proposal, but I don't think that making that change right before the first season of enforcement would be responsible for the township to do. I think any significant change to the ordinance should be given the time, the due diligence that we gave the original ordinance, and also give residents and institutions and businesses the time to make those changes. As many as mentioned, people have already made purchasing decisions. They're already, working towards compliance, and making a significant change now would be very detrimental. So I think that's addressed most of the comments, but I'm happy to answer any more specific questions.
Okay, thank you, Paloma. I'm going to turn to my colleagues. Does anyone wish to respond to public comment? Commissioner Courtney.
Thank you, President Stein, and thank you, Paloma. It's a tough situation we find ourselves in. I would love it if we could change this conversation from the extremes of the damage we are doing to the community by rolling something back to how soon can we get rid of these nuisances. I understand the frustration that if you thought you had won something last fall and now it feels like we're taking it back. You've just heard from our sustainability manager. I urge you to go back and watch the meeting of 2 weeks ago, go back and watch the meeting last fall to understand where these exemptions came into that conversation. These machines, all of the ones in this front side, are allowed by the current ordinance. The problem with the current ordinance, and the reason we're making the amendments tonight, is that ambiguity. You can read it a certain way that is not how it was discussed back in the fall and get something out of it that isn't there. What we are passing tonight is what this board passed last fall. It's making the legislation clearer and more defensible. And most importantly, it gives the legislation more support. Watch the meetings of last fall. Look at who brought forth the amendments to make the changes around pesticide sprayers, around wheeled leaf blowers, and you will see why this compromise was necessary to bring this forward. You have heard even tonight, through public privilege and through response to public privilege from members of this board, attempts to delay and rethink this ordinance. That is why it is imperative that it had to stay focused, and particularly in this moment, to make this clarification so that the ordinance as passed matches what this board understood it to be and how staff has been advising people who have asked questions about it. That doesn't mean you're wrong about pesticide sprayers. It doesn't mean you're wrong about wheeled leaf blowers. It just means that we're not done. With or without tonight's amendment, we're not done. There's still weed whackers and lawnmowers and other dirty machines. And any landscaper who is investing in a wheeled blower now instead of an electric blower should receive no sympathy from this board when we move to prohibit those. Until humans are no longer dependent on burning fossil fuels, we're not done. I understand the frustration of working hard and not getting everything you want. I've been up here for over 7 years working hard, not getting everything I want. It took 2 years to get a sustainability manager. It took 2 more years to get a sustainability plan. It took 5 years to get the ordinance that we have before us, accomplishing not everything that you want. The challenge of being the first to do something, the first in this state, to regulate leaf blowers is that there isn't a clear path. You have to choose where to start, and you have to choose how far to reach. Doing something innovative and disruptive is difficult, and it is crucial that you get a first victory. It is crucial to prove that this change is possible. We are 10 days away from enforcement, from assuaging a lot of fears, and from proving that we can make a difference. 5 years to get here, and that's too slow. But when we show it's possible, the next step is easier and faster. Take the frustration and the disappointment you feel tonight, those head nods, turn that energy into something useful for the next step. If you want this to move faster, you need to get up here. Half of this board is up for election next year. The other half, 2 years later. Most of these elections will be uncontested if history holds. If you're serious about making a difference on these issues, and I'm not just talking to people in the room, hopefully someone at home will watch or will look at this. If you're serious about making a difference, if you're serious about making this move faster, sit in this seat. Environmental action happens when environmentalists get elected. It only takes 10 signatures to get on the ballot. Celebrate what we've actually accomplished tonight and challenge yourselves to be part of the next step. Thank you, President Sinai.
Thank you, Commissioner Courtney. Anyone else wish to respond to public comment? Sorry, Commissioner Gilda-Kramer.
I think that our ordinance will still address some of the worst problems that our community faces from these gas-powered leaf blowers, which are the two-stroke engine ones. But I do believe that the language of these amendments as written have some unintended or unexpected consequences. So I cannot support them as written. I also believe it was an error on our part to exempt chemical sprayers. And I understand that from a process standpoint, we want to address that as a separate ordinance coming forward. But I still cannot support the specific language in these amendments. And so I have to agree with many of our residents. And that's where I come out on it.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Kramer. Anyone else wish to respond to public comment? Commissioner Bernhardt.
Thank you very much, President Sinai. And appreciate everybody coming out here. I think we had close to 54 people show up when we did this before the ordinance was passed. And not only was it remarkable that many people came up, but what was remarkable is how articulate everybody was, pro or con about this. And it was not surprising. Welcome to Lower Merion. It's a thoughtful community. And what came before the board, as noted by our sustainability manager, was something that had been contemplated for a long period of time. The actual recommendation that was made to us was not the same as what we passed. The recommendation was really, putting this off for a period of time longer than what the board decided to do. And during our discussions, I was one of the 4 that did not support this. And primarily, not because there was lack of concern regarding the environmental issues. That's, in my mind, real and something that should be addressed. And certainly not a lack of concern for the noise. Although I submit that, but for the noise, we may not be hearing about this. And it is something that many people within our community wanted to see that we could address properly and fairly. What the concern I had was some of what I thought were inconsistencies in the ordinance. We're discussing something here tonight, but as Paloma indicated, when we were presenting this specific issue was actually addressed. I brought it up, but in a little bit different fashion that was here, because there was a lot of focus on two-cycle engines. I said, if what we're talking about are the two-cycle engine leaf blowers, that does differ than those push leaf blowers, which are four-cycle engines. Your lawnmower is a four-cycle engine. What would be the rationale of saying that that 10 horsepower, push leaf mower is something that's forbidden, but the same, four-cycle type engine lawnmower was not? We needed something of consistency, and we needed the data behind it in order to make that determination. And I was concerned that we didn't possess that. Thus, if the ordinance was challenged, that was one of several, what I felt were inconsistencies which could upend the ordinance as a whole. I still possess those concerns if indeed this ordinance becomes challenged, in that if you listen to the discussions we had when we passed it, the focus was on two-cycle engines. Yet we allow the weed whackers, and yet we allow the chainsaws. And if my colleague to the left had his way, we would be, we would be banning those probably as well, as long as the lawnmowers, and looking for other alternatives. The problem is that the technology isn't there yet. It will get there. There are too many situations where there have been not just somebody that comes forth here and says they've experimented with electric versus the gas power, but many of the landscapers, institutions, people with larger properties. I gave a personal example. I've purchased both, high-end both. There's a difference. There's also a difference in noise. But here's what's going to occur. The marketplace is going to demand that the technology get better. And what's going to occur is, with time, you are going to find that the electric ones, to the extent people think that they are inadequate, they will improve. They will match the gas-powered. Because we are not the only community which has the concern as to what's going on. The number of different municipalities that have been referenced here are only some of those. The entire state of Connecticut recently considered doing this. What stood as a rejection there in large part was costs and considerations of trying to help fund the costs, and they have put that ordinance back on reconsideration for some type of legislation at a later point in time. Whether we've gotten out a little bit over our skis or not, the ordinance is here. We're not hitting a reset button on that ordinance at all. I think, as what's been stated that this evening, is that what's been done is to clarify one of the issues that is here, because that is what was voted on by the group when they went ahead and passed it. And to Commissioner Courtney's point, clarifying it in the event that there's a challenge will help resist that challenge. That lack of clarity goes back to something that, if indeed there are too many inconsistencies, a challenge could be successful for the entire thing would be void for its vagueness. That's the concern I've always possessed about this. And so tonight, while indicated that many of you that have come out to speak may be disappointed if this goes forward, we're going to have to evaluate what we've done on both levels. Earlier, Commissioner Zeloff made a comment about whether we're a little bit faster in the bands that we have for this period of time. I think it's a point well taken from the information that has come back to me, but we are not rewriting the ordinance in its entirety this evening. We have a small focus on clarity of one issue. But all of these issues are going to be subject to review. As someone indicated, we're the first to do this, so we're going to be the first to go ahead and evaluate every single aspect of it. So I know the group that is here may be disappointed. A large group that may be listening to us has disappointment, but for yet other reasons. One of the things that I believe that may be a takeaway from the overall night that you've heard, this board can agree and we can disagree, but we won't get disagreeable, but we'll continue to debate the issues that are out there, including what we are doing for public safety as it relates to lawn equipment. So thank you.
Hey, thank you, Commissioner Bernheim. Anyone else wish to respond to public comment? Okay. So with that, I'll take the opportunity to close and say, thank you very much, as always, to everyone who came and spoke tonight. Just a reminder that we are just voting later. We will be voting to advertise this. The full hearing on this will be later. And I want to address some of the things I heard tonight, but first let me just respond to a couple things. I think I want to set the record, at least as I see it, which is like for the broad issue of leaf blowers, like electric battery operated leaf blowers, the tech is there now. Right? Why do we know this? Because other communities with just as many or more leaves than us have already banned these things and have been successful with no negative consequences. So it is there is a way, right? Whether that's a combination of technology and changing practices, as we heard in public comment earlier tonight, or just technology directly. The technology indeed is there. And then the second is that I couldn't agree more with Commissioner Bernheim that the marketplace will continue to improve this technology because people will demand better equipment. And one way to bootstrap additional innovation and improvements in the technology is to increase the demand. Right? And one reason for municipalities such as ours to adopt ordinances such as this is to give manufacturers a market of people who want this equipment, whether it's better home equipment, better commercial equipment, higher caliber batteries, more battery innovation is happening in this world. It will trickle down to this technology. That is why we can have a path to a complete ban several years from now because of the trajectory of innovation that these kinds of steps generate. So to the public comment, I'm in the camp that I spent a lot of hours doing this, and I never thought that this board was considering prohibiting the large wheeled blowing equipment. We didn't have any information about how the township or other users in the town use these. We didn't have any information about their electric alternatives to that kind of equipment. We didn't have cost estimates for replacing that for the township. We did all of that for handheld and backpack blowers. That's what all that discussion was about. And that's what we were thinking about. The language of that ordinance is unclear. We recognized that in the meeting last November. We were deliberating about whether to clarify it. And I will take ownership of the mistake. It was me who said, I think we should defer that discussion about clarifying it to the spring rather than actually just clarifying it last November. I went and reviewed the tape. That's actually what I did. That is not going to be one of my finest moments of sitting in this chair because it could have been clearer from the start. So that is how I see things. So going forward, chemical blowers and pesticide blowers came up. I think whether or not the board should have banned these last November is kind of moot. The board did decide to allow them. We've given guidance, as Paloma said, to companies that they can use these things. Peak season for using them is this summer. It would be irresponsible for the township to go and amend this current ordinance, which would take effect this June, to prohibit this equipment that we've been telling companies that they can use, and it would take effect immediately, right? Because that's when that ban goes into effect. We can't do that, right? Like we can bring this up and have the sustainability committee take a look at these things and decide going forward. Back in last November, we had conflicting information about whether the battery equipment could really substitute for the commercial equipment, and we needed to contain it so as Commissioner Courtney said, you could effectively pass it, and I think that was the right call. But certainly I would support the sustainability committee looking at that. For the wheeled equipment, what this board focused on was the equipment in residential neighborhoods Because as we heard several people in public comment say, like it is the noise in the neighborhoods that are working from home, it is the health consequences in the neighborhoods, the environmental impacts in the neighborhoods that were really the issue. And those were the gas-powered handheld and backpack blowers. And the wheel blowers have typically been used in institutional context. The very large properties, the banks of tennis courts that need to be blown off. And I would hazard a guess that either no one or almost no one has actually seen a wheeled blower in their neighborhood. Like I've lived in Lower Merion for okay. So some people have. Okay. I've been here for 29 years. Have never have. And there may be ways to parse this out to allow construction uses, exempt institutional properties, et cetera. Those turn out to be challenging. They have challenges with implementation. They have challenges with enforcement. They have challenges with equity. It just doesn't mean we shouldn't go in that direction, but we have to recognize that what this board does besides represent its residents is do the additional work of figuring out how to effectively implement things, right? And effective implementation takes time and work and care, and we need to take those steps. Having said that, I do worry about landscapers deciding to use cheap wheeled blowers in residential areas, right? Some of these indeed are two-cycle, right? And what we do not want to have happen is, sort of squeeze a part of the balloon that says, here's the handheld and backpack blowers, and the other part of the balloon that's like, a small wheel, a walk behind, opens up. And we haven't reduced these. What we've done is just create a new class of gas-powered blowers. Like I completely understand that. It is whether that would happen at this point is a hypothetical question, but it makes sense to me that it would be a risk. And many of those machines are noisier. Right? They are certainly just as polluting, and that cure to me seems like it'd be worse than the disease. So I would like to find a way to be confident that that would not be happening. Right? The current ordinance phases out gas-powered blowers in the summer and winter. The times that many people in this audience have told us are the times that people don't use these things anyway, right? It's not until 2028 when they're phased out in the spring. So I think we have time. We do not need to address this tonight, right? No one is going to go and buy new equipment that they're not going to need for 2 more years now, right? We do need to, I think, address it soon, because for the same reason, we need to give people runway. Like, we need to address it soon, but I don't think we need to get on it tonight. But for the reasons that I mentioned before, you certainly need to give people enough lead time that you're going to be changing the equipment. Just to conclude, I support the idea that we should investigate restrictions or prohibitions on the chemical sprayers and on the wheeled leaf blowers, or certainly the ones that could substitute for the handheld or gas-powered backpack blowers. But adding them into the current ordinance to take effect immediately, when that was not the guidance that we have been giving, and that's not what, at least I think many, if not all of us, thought the intent of the board was, it's not the right approach. We should just bring it forward, develop it, figure out how to implement it, figure out the right way to parse these things out, and do it that way. With that, again, thank you everyone for public comment. And now we turn to the next set of our meeting. So we're moving to the consent calendar. I am going to remove item F, which is the receipt of the historic preservation report. And would anyone else like to remove anything from the consent calendar?
Yeah.
Commissioner Bernhardt.
Yeah, I'd like to remove item B.
Which is item B?
It is the conditional use application at 768 Mount Morrow Road.
Okay. Give me a second to catch up to you. I was not prepared for that.
It'll take a minute.
Okay, so since B is before F, let's start with the conditional use application.
Wait,
sorry.
1 second, sorry. You need to
Keep
adopt
going.
the consent
Oh,
calendar.
sorry, adopt the, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to remove B and F, and then we're going to move for approval of the consent calendar, excluding those 2 items, and including the items from the Government's Administration Committee and Finance Committee meetings. Oh, sorry, Commissioner Kramer, did you want to remove something from consent?
Yes, I do not want the authorization to advertise the ordinance for Chapter 92 property maintenance leaf blower amendments to be on consent.
Okay. So I will change the motion to which the item is that is item L. Okay. So excluding items B, F, and L, I'm going to move that we approve the consent calendar, including the items from the Government's Administration Committee and Finance Committee meetings held earlier in the evening. Do I have a second? Thank you, Commissioner Zelliff. That's a roll call vote, Madam Secretary.
For the adoption of the consent calendar, Mr. Bernheim.
Aye.
Mr. Courtney.
Yes.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Ms. Epstein.
Yes.
Mr. Gregory. Ms. Kramer.
Yes.
Ms. McGuire. Dr. Rossman.
Aye.
Mr. Timberlake.
Yes.
Mr. Whalen.
Yes.
Mr. Zillow.
Aye.
Mr. Sinai.
Yes.
The consent calendar is duly adopted.
Okay. So we are moving to, I guess, page 5 of our packet, the conditional use application. Okay, so I guess you okay if I make this a motion? Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to move that we adopt a resolution approving a conditional use application. The applicant seeks conditional use for the installation of additional impervious coverage related to construction on a Class 2 historic resource. These changes increase the impervious surface limits to 24.7%, which is above the LDR2 zoning limit, district limit of 21%. And then it explains why the applicant is seeking retroactive approval. Do I have a second? Thank you, Commissioner Whalen. Commissioner comment? Yes, Commissioner Bernheim.
Yeah, thank you very much, President Steiner. The reason I sought to remove this is just to clarify one point. During the discussion, it was brought up that once again, the board found itself confronted with a situation where it appears someone was asking us forgiveness on the back end as opposed to permission on the front end. And for a period of time, we had this situation time and time again, and the board decided that it was necessary to be very, very clear that we were not, or that this was something that we were not going to, accept on a regular basis. And during our discussions, President Sinai, you noted that your litmus test was that you would take a look at this and say, well, gee, would I have approved it had it been presented timely? Understandable comment. And then Commissioner Whalen took issue with the concept, noting that, we have this problem. The reason I take a moment to bring this back forward now is that subsequent to the meeting, there were a number of emails and comments that I received about this where I think there was some misinterpretation, because I don't believe at all, and feel free to correct me if I was wrong, Todd, but I don't believe at all that the comment about reviewing this as if it were being brought for the first time was intended to give anybody the thought, all right, I don't have to worry about seeking this on the front end because I'll get it, otherwise, and I maybe don't have to go through that angst. It is only where there are exceptional circumstances, somebody is bringing forth with good faith reasons that they did not get the appropriate permission on the front end, not mere neglect. That doesn't do it. It has to be some really compelling reason that then we would look at it. And then at that time, that litmus test of saying, hey, would we have approved this beforehand would be appropriate. But absent those contingencies, that this must be a good faith basis upon which somebody has not complied with our rules, then the option would be that we would deny the request. That had previously been the policy, and I bring this forth to the extent that if there were people other than those that emailed me and one attorney who called me because he remembered years ago being chastised for having done this, so that there is no doubt about it that we have not changed our policy, and that was not the intent. The exception will not swallow the rule. So I pull this off of consent just to make that point of clarity, and then unless someone else has any other comment, we can go forward, and I suspect it will pass as it did before, and for the reasons that were stated before. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification, Commissioner Bernheim. And point well taken. Commissioner Whalen.
I would simply like to reiterate, I appreciate the clarification, and I think in furtherance of Commissioner Bernheim's clarification, if anyone mistook my statement on the record at length last time as thinking that this would be allowed going forward or a change in our policy, they can certainly be devoid of that thought going forward, but I appreciate the clarification and hope this does pass because, again, this was done properly, and hopefully we can undo this in the future.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Whalen. Any other comments? Madam Secretary, is this a roll call vote at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. So all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Any opposed? No, it looks like it passes unanimously. Thank you. So the next item is item F, which is on page 12 of your packet. It's a receipt of the Historic Preservation Report. So I pulled this off of consent because, after this board voted to, in committee, or the committee voted to receive the report, it came to light that there need to be some, really frankly, small revisions and corrections to it. But we either could have just gotten them this afternoon before the meeting and reviewed it and accepted it, or we could just put this off a month and get this, a complete document and do it that way. Because there's no particular timing for this, it made more sense to give the board just more time to review it. So I'm going to make a motion to postpone this item until the June 17th board meeting, for the reasons I said. Thank you, Commissioner Daley. Any questions or comments about the postponement? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor of postponing for 1 month? Okay. June 17th. That appears to, yep, okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you. So the last item that was taken off of consent was item L. What page are we on? There it is. We're on page 21 of our packet. So I'm going to just make a motion, and then I'll turn it over to Commissioner Kramer. So I move that we approve authorizing the Township Secretary to advertise notice of intent to adopt an ordinance to amend the code of the Township of Lower Merion, Chapter 92, entitled Property Maintenance, Article 3 thereof, gas-powered leaf blowers, to revise the definitions of gas-powered leaf blower, electric-powered leaf blower, and leaf blower to specifically exempt leaf removal equipment manufactured with the engine and blower housing permanently integrated into a wheeled chassis, including walk-behind, stand-on riding, and tow-behind leaf blowers, and to otherwise reformat portions of Article 3. Do I have a second? Thank you, Commissioner Courtney. Commissioner Kramer.
As I said before, the language as written has some unexpected consequences. By permitting wheeled types of equipment for use on small properties, not just on big properties. And I understood when we passed the ordinance last fall that we were going to make allowances for the big institutional properties and allow, this type of large equipment. But that's not what the language is in the way this is written. So either we need to correct the language to limit it to large properties or properties of a certain size, or I have to oppose this totally. So at this point, I'm going to oppose it. And I would hope that if it does pass, that issue will be looked at really closely in the next month before this comes before the board for passage.
Thank you, Commissioner Kramer. I share your view on that. Having these wheeled blowers sort of show up in residential properties would generate an awful lot of calls to the township complaining about them, right? And we should head that off at the pass before we get there. But I also concur that this amending this ordinance would not be the way to accomplish that correctly. We need to bring that forward separately. So I'm going to support the existing language just because it clarifies what is here. But I at least recognize that there's some wood to chop. But Commissioner Courtney.
Thanks, President. I think part of the reason we're in the somewhat confusing situation we're in tonight is because we attempted to legislate on the fly, or at least not give ourselves the proper amount of time to deliberate amendments that came before us back in November. I think we should pass the language as written this evening, but I also agree that over the course of the next month, or as quickly as we can, the Sustainability Committee should be addressing the exemption of the pesticide sprayers as well as the wheeled blowers, trying to figure out what the proper phase-out schedule would be for those devices and or what restrictions we should make about their usage in terms of property size and location. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Courtney. Any other of my fellow commissioners? Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Well,
Commissioner Jeffrey.
My understanding, like she said, that they were telling people to go buy these things. So we're going to turn around and tell them now, if they did purchase these landscapers, whoever, they might have to turn around and not use them again.
If I might respond, what's happening here is that the guidance that was given to landscapers, the clarification makes this clear that it matches the guidance the township had been giving, and we are not going to pull the rug out from anyone.
Yeah, okay, because I'm listening and I'm just getting too many different stuff. Even myself, and I did it. I'm lost on some of these. What they're saying, I'm just, because I'm gonna get these calls, and it's just I want to make sure I'm completely clear when I tell these individuals these things, because I just feel that we didn't do enough homework. Well, it was before me. Enough homework was not done before. It's just, that's how I feel. So I'm sorry. Just, it's a mess. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Anything further?
It does better.
Yes, it does better. Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Gregory. Any other commissioners? Okay. So with that, we're going to vote. So all those in favor of the amendment, please raise your hand.
Advertising the amendment.
Advertising the amendment, sorry. Yeah. Any opposed? Okay. Abstentions? Okay. Madam Secretary, there's one opposed. Okay. So that is the last item for the consent calendar. So we are going to move to page 25 of your packet, which is a public hearing in adoption of the ordinance, Chapter 126, sewers, the sanitary sewer rental rate for 2026. So I'm going to make a motion. I'm going to read the ordinance. I'll make the motion later. The ordinance enacted pursuant to the Code of the Township of Lower Merion, Chapter 126 Sewers, fixing the amount of the annual sanitary sewer rental fee and establishing the amount between $5.19 and $5.30 as the charge to each property connected to the township sanitary sewer system for each 1,000 gallons of water consumed, and fixing the amount of the annual sanitary sewer rental fee for each property directly connected to the City of Philadelphia sanitary sewer system as that amount charged by the City of Philadelphia for such service. Excuse me. This ordinance was authorized for advertisement at a stated meeting of the Board of Commissioners held April 22nd, 2026, and duly advertised in the May 10th, 2026 edition of the Mainline Times and Suburban. And so you'll note that this ordinance was advertised with a range between $5.19 and $5.30 for the rate. Just to preview, later when I make the motion to adopt this ordinance, I will make a motion with the amount set right in the midpoint at $5.25, right in the middle of that range. So with that, I'm going to open the public hearing, and does anyone wish to make public comment about this ordinance? Okay, not a lot of demand for that, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Any questions from my colleagues for staff or comments? Yeah, Commissioner Zoff.
President Sinai, this was a Finance Committee item a month or so ago, and we had some long discussion and about why we needed to raise rates, really staff presentation and questions for staff. And then our Chief Financial Officer gave us 5 scenarios, and at the end of the meeting, we picked the range because there was a little bit of uncertainty as to what was coming next in terms of staff and engineering work to seek causes, sources, and potential surcharges and upcharges for larger flow sites. And that's a way that over time, hopefully not much time, that this impact on our ratepayers, on our taxpayers would be managed and not have to go up as much. And so we discussed, the staff recommendation was in the middle, 17.5%, which was 530, but a number of us proposed or thought that it made sense to go with the 15% increase, which is the 519. And so I guess I'd like to hear from you as to, other than picking the middle, I don't think the intent was to pick the middle, at least as far as I recall as the meeting went on, and I recall that you were not here that night.
Why not?
And so my preference would be that we adopt the $5.19, which would be the scenario presented by, one of the several scenarios presented by staff, which would be a 15% increase, followed by a 12.5% increase a year later, followed by a 7.5% increase a year later. However, with the possibility that those would be lowered based on additional work, as I described a moment ago. And so we have a motion. I see it differently.
I've not made the motion yet. I just previewed this, right?
Thank you. Good. Thank you for clarifying that. So I'll make the motion.
Well, can we just see if there's any other questions or
We
comments before we
certainly
do the
can.
motion?
Yes.
Okay, so anyone else with questions or?
There's one other comment I want to make.
Okay.
Commissioner Epstein and I actually agreed on this.
I was going to say it.
Oh, well, you didn't raise your hand. So why don't you say it?
Commissioner Epstein.
Thank you, President Sinai. Because you weren't present, I just want to alert you to the fact that we agreed on this, and
Okay.
that is a lot. So that should be noted for the record twice.
Okay, so since the question was raised about how it came up to 525, I have been at this a long time. I understand when the board advertises a range, it was because it did not come to consensus the first time. And in my attempt to short circuit us to the end of whatever compromise there would be, I decided to start at that point. But if this board instead wishes to start at a different point and debate it out, but absolutely. And so, certainly welcome, either of you to make the initial motion if that's what you would rather do.
You do it, I'll second it.
Okay.
I'll move that the, well, does the motion need to be the entire motion, or can I?
You can just, you can read line 6 there with a different number.
I'll move that the board adopt ordinance number 4334 with $5.19 as the 2026 sanitary sewer rental fee.
And there's a second.
Okay.
So you see what I just did there? I just avoided an amendment, which
Yes,
had I
you did.
proposed
Yes, you
525 would have immediately have followed. So we are now starting with this. Does anyone wish to comment on that motion or make an amendment? I don't see an overwhelming rush for 5:30, and, I understand, even though I was not there, all of these meet the minimum fund balance
Yes.
through the projection.
Yes, thank
So
you for that point.
we are not,
Yes.
doing anything financially risky here. Okay. So with that, we have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, it's a roll call vote.
For the adoption of ordinance 4334, Mr. Bernheim.
Aye.
Mr. Courtney.
Yes.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Ms. Epstein.
Yes.
Mr. Gregory.
Yes.
Ms. Kramer.
Yes.
Ms. McGuire. Dr. Rossman.
Aye.
Mr. Timberlake.
Yes.
Mr. Whalen.
Yes.
Mr. Zello.
Aye.
Mr. Sinai.
Yes.
The ordinance is duly adopted.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Is there any unfinished business to come before the board?
May I just comment, it's unfortunate the scouts left to see our good work.
We will point them to the YouTube video, Commissioner Dahl. You have no fear. When Commissioner Sparrow is back, she can take care of that. Okay, so for new business, I'm going to start with an announcement about Philly Lights Up for Elora. On June 15th, many landmarks, businesses, and residences in the area will be lighting up in blue and purple in recognition of Elora Joyce Kahn Pediatric Brain Cancer Awareness Day. The Philly Lights Up for Elora event is being sponsored by the Elora J. Kahn Foundation to bring awareness to pediatric brain cancer. The foundation was created in memory of Elora Joyce Kahn, a Township resident who passed away at age 7 from pediatric brain cancer. The foundation's mission is to support families facing terminal pediatric brain cancer while raising awareness for this devastating disease. I encourage our residences and businesses to participate in Philly Lights Up for Elora on June 15th by illuminating their homes and businesses in blue and purple in recognition of Elora Joyce Kahn Pediatric Brain Cancer Awareness Day. Thank you. Also for new business, I believe there's some from Commissioner Timberlake.
Thank you, President Sinai. On behalf of the Lower Merion Memorial Day Committee, I would like to invite everyone to attend the annual Memorial Day observances this Monday, May 25th, here in Ardmore. The Merion Concert Band will be performing in concert beginning at 9:30 a.m. in front of the Township Administration Building. There will be a parade at 10:30 a.m. stepping off from Greenfield Avenue and proceeding down Lancaster Avenue to Argyle Road, ending at St. Paul Cemetery. And finally, at 11:30 a.m., there will be a memorial service at St. Paul Cemetery to remember and honor our military veterans. I hope everyone will join us for these events on Memorial Day.
Thank you, Commissioner Timberlake.
Thank you, President Sinai.
Any other new business?
May I ask a question?
Yeah, Commissioner Courtney, you can.
Is this a rain or shine event, or are they storm predicted?
So if it's light rain, we would go forward. We will make a call the night before based on the forecast. Like around dinner time on Sunday, the committee will talk about it and we'll get the word out to people. And either way, even if it's raining pretty heavily, we will still have a ceremony at the cemetery at 11:30.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you for
you.
asking that.
Hey, any other new
It's
business?
my nightmare.
Okay. Seeing none?
I just want to say thank you, commissioners, for your kind comments, your consideration, your kindness. Appreciate it. Everything we accomplish is really a team effort, staff, commissioners, manager. But thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I guess I should have given you an opportunity earlier. Sorry. You would think I'd done this before. It only comes around every year.
You're talking out of turn.
Yeah, I
I don't know how well
I
you
know.
know how this is supposed to work.
I know.
He's new at these meetings.
Okay, so with anything else? With that, we are adjourned. Have a good night, everyone.